Today, we're going to unpack a really fascinating and, honestly, pretty counterintuitive argument from a Christian blogger. It's an idea that, when you first hear it, sounds like a complete contradiction. And this is it. This is the title of the article we're digging into. It's a provocative claim, right? I mean, it's designed to make you stop and think. The very institution that was created to build faith is being accused of, well, laying the groundwork for a worldview that pretty much excludes faith entirely.
So this is the central paradox we're going to unravel together. How on earth could a Sunday school, a place we all associate with Bible stories and religious lessons, somehow be a pipeline to secularism? Well, to understand the author's argument, we have to look past the intentions and really focus on the method.
Okay, so right off the bat, it's really important to be clear. This isn't an accusation of, some kind of secret plot. The author is not saying that Sunday school teachers have a hidden secular agenda. No, the argument is way more subtle than that. It's all about unintended consequences.
So here's the core of the accusation. The author claims that in an effort to make faith easy to understand and practical for kids, many Sunday schools have shifted their focus. They've moved away from teaching complex Christian theology and toward teaching simple moral lessons. The problem, according to this argument, isn't really what's being taught, it's about what's being left out.
And this brings us to the key distinction the author makes. This is really the heart of the entire argument. What exactly is the difference between teaching morals and teaching theology? And why does that difference matter so much here?
You can see the two different approaches laid out pretty clearly here. On the left, you've got these heavy, core theological concepts of Christianity, right? Sin, redemption, grace. And then on the right, you have these universal moral virtues that, let's be honest, almost everyone can agree on. The author's whole point is that the column on the right has basically become the main curriculum, while the stuff on the left, the very ideas that make Christianity distinct, often get pushed to the side or simplified so much they lose their meaning.
Okay, so to really get where the author thinks this is all headed, we need a solid definition of secular humanism. And the key thing to notice is that it's a worldview built on ethics, on being a good person, but it explicitly says that morality comes from human reason, not from God or some religious text. So just keep that definition in your back pocket as we keep going. So what does this shift from theology to just morals actually look like in a typical Sunday school class? Let's dive into some of the specific examples the author gives for how the faith gets, in their words, watered down. So the argument goes something like this. A story like David and Goliath stops being about God's covenant with Israel and just becomes a simple lesson about being brave. The story of the Good Samaritan becomes just be nice and help people, and you lose all of its radical, countercultural context. The supernatural stuff gets pushed to the background in favor of practical advice. And slowly, the ultimate goal shifts from knowing God to simply being a good, moral person.
Now, this isn't just one blogger's random idea. Sociologists actually have a name for this kind of belief system: moralistic therapeutic deism. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but the concept is actually pretty simple. It's this idea that there's a God out there, but he's kind of like a cosmic therapist. He wants you to be nice and happy, but he doesn't get too involved. The author's claim is that this has become the unofficial religion being taught in a lot of Sunday schools.
Okay, so we've laid out the teaching method, but now for the really crucial part of the argument. How does teaching kids to be good, nice, and fair actually lead them down a path to a worldview that doesn't include God at all? This is the step-by-step logic the author lays out. Step 1, the foundation of a child's faith gets built on behavior, on being a good person. Because of this, God's specific theological role starts to feel kind of abstract and vague. Then, as that child grows up, a divine source for being kind or sharing just seems less and less necessary. I mean, their non-religious friends are also kind and sharing, right? So eventually, the whole scaffolding of religion can just be removed, and what's left standing is a perfectly good, human-centered ethical system. And this really gets to the tipping point. If you teach kids what to do, be good, without deeply connecting it to the theological why that's unique to the faith, then you've basically created a moral framework that doesn't actually need the faith to support it. The behavior can just stand on its own. So let's bring this all home. How does this all build up to the author's final conclusion? Well, this whole argument is really structured as a kind of cautionary tale, a warning about the long-term unintended ripple effects of this change in teaching. And here's the final warning, the real punchline of the whole argument. If Christianity is presented mainly as a system for being a good person, it just can't compete in a secular world that also offers countless ways to be a good person, but without any of the theology.
A faith that isn't distinct, the author argues, is a faith that is ultimately disposable.
So look, whether you agree with the author's conclusion or not, it leaves us with a really powerful question that goes way beyond just Sunday school. It forces all of us to think about the connection between how we teach and what we ultimately believe in any system of thought. How does the way we simplify big ideas for beginners end up shaping the core beliefs of the next generation? It's a huge question, and it's a really important one for anyone who cares about passing on a worldview.